Citadelle de Morts just dropped and is already one for the history books. With a ton of new and returning players more interested in zombies than ever, I went 100 rounds to craft the easiest strategy that you can run to get to round 100 on the new map in 3 hours or less. Before we get into the strategy guide, be sure to drop a like and subscribe or else Mr. Peaks will come to your house and turn you into gobblegum sugar. This time around, there's no specific loadout weapon that you have to run, however, you will need Ether Shroud equipped with the extra charge minor augment. You'll also need a few other augments on your perks in order to make the strategy work in your game that I'll go over now. You'll absolutely 100% need to have researched the Picky Eater augment on the new perk Vulture's Aid. Picky Eater makes it so that zombies have a higher chance of dropping the current equipment that you have. This includes your lethals, grenades, and even, unless I'm just tripping, I really think this works for whatever score streak you have equipped to. Now, you have to have it in your inventory for it to actually work, but it does seem to me like it drops the score streak that you're holding a little bit more often, which is really good for mutant injections. You'll also need to have the Espresso major augment on melee macchiato, as well as the stick and move minor augment. Espresso makes it so that you can melee a lot faster. This is really good for the swords, and stick and move makes it so that your back pedal speed is increased after successful melee attacks, which again is just really good for your swords. There's not really any other augments that I'd recommend. However, I always see people fighting over probiotic versus reactive armor. In this game, I was able to use both of these. I saved and quit halfway through and tried with both reactive and probiotic. I really didn't find a difference. The zombies seem to have been buffed after around 40 or 50, I believe, and it really gets hard to run around no matter what augment you're using here. However, I'd probably just stick with probiotic, to be honest, because I just really like the extra boost in health myself. Once you're actually in the game, though, you're going to progress like normal down to Pack-a-Punch. However, when you get into the castle and you're making your way down underground, make sure you go through the way that leads towards Quick Revive in the craft room, and then go all the way down to Pack-a-Punch that way. Do not go through the undercroft to where the pool is. I'm telling you guys, if you open this door down here, it's going to wreck the strategy. You'll still be able to run it, but it'll be a lot slower than it would be if you just kept this door shut. Once you are down here, activate Pack-a-Punch like normal and begin your regular setup. You will need a sword of your choice. Again, it doesn't matter which one you use. I use the Void just because I like the special ability the most. However, after about like 60 or 70, you're not really going to be using this too much, so it's not going to matter. So just pick the one that you think is the best or that is your favorite to get or the easiest, whatever you guys want. The normal melee damage on all these does the exact same, and as long as you're using the melee macchiato augments I provided at the beginning of the video, you'll be good to go. You'll also need the fire incantation. This is super easy to get. If you guys don't know how to get this, I'll run over it really quickly, but if you do, you can skip a little bit ahead here. All you'll need is the fire sword for this, which of course is the easiest one to build, and then you need to either take 3 Molotovs or use the fire sword special ability to light 3 piles of wood that are in and around the castle courtyard area. Once you do that, a doppelgas will spawn and you can kill it, pick up the Ankh, and then charge it up at the bottom right corner of the castle courtyard. As soon as it's done, the chest will appear and you can bip the chest with the fire sword to unlock the fire incantation. This is super good for the low rounds. We're eventually going to switch off of this, so it's not technically needed, but it is really, really good, and here's why. The fire incantation will actually one-shot amalgam on any round. All you have to do is shoot it at them and it will literally slow burn them to death. It's so overpowered. It's so good for the low rounds. On the higher rounds, it won't really matter too much, but on the low rounds, instead of having to buy Casimirs every single couple of rounds or every time you run out of them, this is going to be the best case scenario for you because you'll be able to really save on salvage, not having to buy any decoy grenades or Casimirs or monkey bombs. Outside of that, guys, get your perks like normal, upgrade your guns like normal, and go ahead and get yourself set up. And once you have everything that we've already just went over, make your way down to the bottom Pack-a-Punch area of the map. This is where you're going to be running the train for about the first 50-ish rounds, maybe stretch it to 60. I think I went until 75, and I stayed down there for way too long in my game. Personally, I'd go until you have about 30 or 40,000 salvage racked up. The earlier you purchase Vulture's Aid, the better for this strategy because it will give you increased salvage drop, and like I said, you really want to be focusing on racking up your salvage for this strategy. When you're down here at the bottom Pack-a-Punch training for the first 50 rounds, there's a couple ways to do this. I typically stuck to the outside edges of the room, got all the zombies hoarded up, and then ran through the trap in the middle. I didn't stand in the trap in the middle and kill zombies because eventually you get to a point where they can all just kind of crowd you and hit you even when you're inside of there with the sword. I ran through it, and then when they were slowed down by the trap, I was killing them outside of it so it didn't disappear until the actual trap ran out itself. This is really good for charging up your sword so you can use the big ability. Again, mine was the Void, so I could take out an entire horde in one little swing there. But again, basically just stick to the outer edges of the room, rack up the zombies, run through the trap, and then when the zombies are in the trap, don't stand in there with them, just kind of walk outside of it and it'll slow all of their speeds down to where you can really work on charging your sword up. After the trap wears off and the zombies start to go at their normal speeds again, you should be at about the point where you can either kill a few more zombies or already be at the special ability for your sword. And then I would use the Void Sword to finish off the round for the first like 20 to 30 rounds. And after that, I just keep repeating the process where I chip away, making sure I'm staying to the outer edges of this little room while I wait for the trap to come back on or for my Void Sword to recharge. It can get really hectic down here. That's why I suggested having 2 charges of Ether Shroud. You don't really use it to kill the zombies too much. You really just want to focus on kind of having those in your back pocket in case you start to get overwhelmed. But you shouldn't really get to the point where you're like, oh man, I'm dying almost every single round until about the round 60s or 75 mark. Now, the reason I suggest training down here is because the spawns are really super quick. The first game that I tried this, I had both doors open to this room and they were piling in from the pool area and it was taking forever to get through the rounds because they were just spawning from so far away. But like I said, if you guys keep that door shut, you should be able to get through each of the rounds in like a minute and a half. And later on, once we get into the second part of the strategy, the rounds actually take way less time than that. When the amalgam spawns, you should be able to use your fire incantations to one-tap them, and then when you kill zombies, they'll actually drop little fire incantations that you can run over and pick up to recharge. But if not, I believe if you're doing this in solo, and it's always working solo, whatever incantation that you are currently holding will be at these little tables and pillars around the map, and the one in the corner of this room will always be the one you're holding, which in my case is fire. So the way I played this in the slightly higher rounds, like the 40s and 50s, was I had 2 Casimirs in my back pocket. Every time an amalgam would spawn, I'd run up to this little table, pick up the fire incantation, and then turn around and kill the amalgams, and then pick up my Casimirs back. It's a lot of micromanaging down here, and I just had the Casimirs in my back pocket just in case. You don't really need to be doing that, but you know, in case you want to have those as an extra safe barrier if you're out of Ether Shroud charges, it is nice to have those in your back pocket. As previously mentioned, guys, the whole strategy is going to be about sitting down here for the first like 50 rounds, 60 rounds until you get about 40,000 salvage. Once you've hit that requirement for salvage, make your way back over to the spawn area. The rest of the high round strategy is going to be run underneath the pub. The spawns down here are so fast, and there's a crafting table, so you guys can probably already imagine what we're going to be doing down here, which is picking up mutant injections and killing off the rounds in about 40 seconds apiece. Now, there is actually a way to maintain your salvage instead of just ripping salvage all the way down to 0 and having to go back and train more salvage. And the way that you do this is, again, you have to have that augment Picky Eater on Vulture's Aid, and you start the round by using the Casimir, or maybe even 2 of them. And when you throw the Casimir down, usually it'll spawn 1 extra Casimir that you can then replenish your stock with, but it also drops a ton of salvage, and even sometimes if it gets the Doppelgast that spawned on the map, a free mutant injection. I sat down here from round 75 until 100, and my salvage only fluctuated by about 3,000 salvage each way. Eventually, towards the end, I took it down due to some latency on a bug round, so I had to spend a little extra salvage getting some of my stuff back, but had I not taken that down, you can really honestly maintain your salvage if you're smart about your Casimir use. Like I said, guys, at the start of the round, throw the Casimir down and kind of move around so that the Doppelgast don't really do much damage to you, because while they're dying to the Casimir, they can still hit you, they can still swing at you and take some damage off. You don't want that to happen. So kind of throw it on one side of the room, move the other side of the room, kill off the Doppelgast that are spawning near you too. Maybe one of them will drop a mutant injection. If not, you can either choose to throw another Casimir grenade or use your mutant injection, kill off the rest of the round, and you'll be good to go. One additional side note here is that when you're in the mutant injections, as long as you have Picky Eater, you'll still be spawning Casimir grenades. I'm pretty sure this happens naturally too, but the chances of you actually getting them without Picky Eater are really low. But I noticed every time I went through a round with a mutant injection, usually 1 or 2 Casimir grenades spawned too. So again, guys, quickly reiterating, get about 40,000 salvage, come to the bottom of the pub, throw the Casimir down at the ground for the initial part of the round, and then use your mutant injection to finish off the round. Pick up any Casimirs that remain, pick up all the salvage that you got from the first bit of the round and the second half of the round, and afterwards you should be not only clear through the round with absolutely no issues at all, but you should be maintaining salvage easily into the hundreds. As long as you keep doing this strat with the Casimir grenades, you should be able to maintain salvage for as long as you want. But that's it for this video, guys. That's how you get to round 100 relatively quickly in this new map, Citadelle des Morts. I really enjoy it. I do think really quickly, though, the swords need to be buffed. They definitely are a little bit underwhelming. You don't really play too much with the swords in the high rounds. It is going back to just throwing the Casimirs and the mutant injections, but it would be really cool to see at least 2 or 3 of the swords really OP that we can just run around and kill zombies with. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Zombies content. Have a good day. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. Peace.